Hello, hello. I'll give everybody a chance to hop on here. Visit the streamer dashboard. What is that? Hi, Heidi. Giving everybody a chance just to hop on here. I hope you guys can see me and hear me. Yes? See me, hear me? I am outside. Hi. Hi, Sarah. View your latest streams down. That's weird. Okay. I'm gonna give everybody a chance to hop on. I'm sorry I was late. We had camp, like family day at camp with my daughter, and I didn't realize until I got out there that it's probably going to be a little bit of a drive for me to come back. So see me and hear me. Yes. Okay, good. Good. I'll give everybody a chance to come on. If anybody has any questions now, feel free to ask. Sarah, how old are the puppies? Now, I'm guessing like 4 months-ish. How old? Tasha, stop. April. Okay. All right. April, May, June, July. Oh. So they're like pretty young. So they're under 4 months old. They are some big puppies. Jesus. Okay. So almost 4 months old. I'm guessing everybody's starting to see some rambunctiousness. Well, Catahoulas and pit bull mixes are honestly, they're a little bit tough. They're not mixes that we like to see. However, some of them can be really chill and great. Catahoulas are, hey, Nine, down, good girl. Catahoulas are very independent. Typically, they're very intellectual, and they're part of the bayers. They're baying dogs. So they're originally hunters, large game hunters like pig hunters. So they'll work in groups of 2s and 3s, corner a pig and bay until the hunter gets there to take care of it. And they also have been known they do herding as well. So they also have a really good herding background. So, and they do use their mouths to herd, and they do bay to herd, which baying is the kind of a howl. I don't know if any of them bay, but are we sure that they're Catahoulas, or are we just taking a guess? They certainly look like them, but are we just taking a guess because of the merle, the blue merle coloring? I'm going to split screen here and see if I can find any of the questions that were. Oh, I touched something. Oh, okay, that worked. And see if anybody had questions. That's your guess. Okay. I mean, they certainly look like them. They definitely got the eyes, and then the coloring is a pretty good indicator. And Catahoulas can be pretty big. They can be 110 pounds. So 110, 120, not typical, but they can be pretty big. The other thing that I was wondering if there was any Dane in Great Dane in any of them, because they do look pretty big and lanky, but that can also be the Catahoula. Dasha, down. Hey, down. Good girl. So again, very independent dogs. They can be, they're working dogs. Typically you don't, Catahoulas do need some sort of a job and objective. They can be destructive. They can be, they're highly intelligent, which kind of sucks just because they definitely learn to work things out. They also, I don't know if anybody's experienced this yet. I know Katie, if she did mention something about her puppy snapping at other dogs. They generally are not very dog friendly. That doesn't mean that they can't like have dog friends or get along with dogs, but they're not a dog that we usually want at the dog park because they just don't really tolerate dogs up in their face that they don't know. And excitement from other dogs. They tend to be a little bit non-tolerant of that kind of thing. So by not dog friendly, I don't necessarily mean dog aggressive, like they're going to go out and hurt other dogs, but they can be a little bit intolerant of the dogs. Do you just need to go in? You get eaten by bugs? All right, I'm gonna run her in really quick because she is like getting eaten by bugs. And anybody who has a question, go ahead and type it down. I can be here for the next 30 minutes to an hour I have. But go ahead and type a question and I will be right back. I'm gonna run my dog inside. Dasha, here. Whew. All right. Sorry, guys. I just wanted to run the dog in. She was getting eaten up by bugs over here sitting in the shade. I'm also out here with all my chickens, so hopefully they will not be too loud and obnoxious. Okay, so I'm here to answer your questions. Type them in. Let me know if you got them. Puppies were born in April. Again, May, June, July. So they're coming up on 4 months old. They're still puppies. So you've got your teenage years to come on. I've gone through some of the posts and I've read a little bit. It sounds like some of you have some pretty mellow puppies that really don't have any issues with, and some of your puppies are a little more bold. What I refer to as bold, which just means that they're got some sass, which honestly, you know, we like that. Us dog trainers like little sass. It doesn't mean anything other than that they need certain things in their environment to be successful. So, yeah, throw your questions at me. Let me know if you got them. I can go ahead and talk about potty training a little bit. I don't know is everybody's dog potty trained yet? Come on, 4 months, close to. For me, potty training usually is done by 6 months. My rule is that every 2 hours, probably at 4 months old, every 2.5 hours maybe. And maybe earlier than that if your puppy's still there. But every 2 hours after they eat and after they wake up. In addition to every 2 hours. Hey, stop it. In addition to every 2 hours. The other thing to keep in mind about potty training, which I did see in the page, is that when you take the puppy out to go to the bathroom, a lot of times they don't go all at one time. So if they just go once and you bring them inside, it's very likely they're going to go again within the next 15 minutes. They just don't tend to empty their bladder in one go. They have to go around, they have to sniff, they have to do stuff. The other thing too is that when you're outside and actually you want them to take care of business, you want to be very calm. Because if the puppy goes potty one time and then you go, oh, what a good dog, yay, and you get the dog all excited, that little urethra goes right? And then they go back inside and they hang out for a little bit and they relax and then boom, they pee everywhere. So keep that in mind as well as far as potty training goes. A lot of management. Is everybody's puppy crate trained? I want answers. Type them in. Crate training, very important. Crate trained. Puppies should be in the crate when you're gone. They should be in the crate at night. And they should be in the crate when you're home for a couple hours, particularly on the weekends. I like to try to keep my puppies' schedule the same, right? We can kind of screw our puppies up with potty training and also just screw them up a little bit mentally if we have Monday through Friday where we have this schedule of you go in the crate for the certain amount of time while I'm gone, and then you have 2 days from Friday night until Monday morning, they're not in the crate at all. It's really, really a good idea to keep them, try to keep that same schedule, right? So even for me, my dogs, they're older and they don't really need to be in their crates, need to be crate trained anymore. But during the day and the weekends, or during the days that I have off at home, they're in their crate for 4 hours in the afternoon. All of them, every time. So, all right. Questions, guys, come on. I'm here for you. Saw some things about puppy biting. So puppy biting is pretty normal. Puppy mouthing is pretty normal. I tell this to my clients a lot in my puppy programs. Keep your hands off your puppies. And that sounds terrible. But really, there's no reason that psychologically for that puppy, there's no reason that they need to be pet and cuddled all the time before the age of like 6 months old. Scientific studies show that puppies actually don't get the oxytocin rush from physical affection from humans until about 5 or 6 months old. So all that cuddling and loving when they're super tiny, really, I mean, they like it because it's warm, right? They like it because it's warm and it makes them feel like, oh, like swaddled. But they're not getting that social benefit from it yet. So there's no reason to be petting and touching your puppy all the time. So that's a big one, is just don't pet your puppy. Don't give them a reason to bite you. You can distract them sometimes. It really depends on the dog and the situation. Certainly if I'm, hanging out with my dog and I'm petting and then he's doing fine and then he starts to get a little mouthy, I can certainly just grab a toy and just kind of toss it to him and let him have it. But using that as a constant deterrent from mouthing is not something I would do. I would almost go the route of, doing the old school yelp when they bite you, right? Yelp and then what we call exile, which means you just kind of pull all your attention away from them, and they learn pretty quickly that if they bite or they bite too hard, that the game's going to be over, right? The attention is going to be done. So something there. If you've got a dog snapping, I think I did read one post, I think it was from Katie, about her dog puppy was snapping when he didn't like what was going on. Yeah, I don't think I'm seeing you guys' comments right now. Hold on. I'm going to pull you up here. Hold on, guys. I'm just seeing that there are comments that I'm not seeing. So, hold on. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Thank you, Sarah. All right. Sorry, guys. Give me one quick second. I gotcha. Oh, there they are. All right. Potty training is going really well, Tara. Awesome. Digging and redirecting or stopping. Okay, digging. They're young. Sorry, guys. Oh, they're young. So I would honestly not let them be free in your yard to be things. I wouldn't allow them to be alone long enough that they're actually digging. Couple options with digging. If you've got a dog that really, really likes to dig, you can certainly get them a sandbox and let them dig. Right. Right now, there's a lot of stuff inside the ground. So it's July, which means that the soil is full of bugs and animals that are wiggling their way through the ground. So there's a lot for your puppies to be into. So number one, every time the puppy starts to dig, you could easily just pick them up and take them inside. If you can still pick them up, right? Have them on a leash. If they start digging, you can nope. With young dogs, I like to say a nope, and then I like to give a little tuck, boom, boom, boom. And I don't want it to necessarily be like a correction, but I want it to be annoying enough that they're like, I don't like that, and they stop and they walk away, and then they start digging again. Nope, boop, 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 boop. If they start running as soon as they see you coming, fine, they stop digging, right? Nope, take 2 steps toward them, they stop digging, good boy, and then you can call them and redirect them into something else. That's what I do with digging. You have other options, like if it's only in one place that they like to dig, you can just block off that one place, give them another option. Again, I don't mind dog. I mean, I have a pretty big yard. We have like 10 acres here, so I don't care if my dogs dig. And when I actually allow them to dig, they stop digging. So giving him maybe an option, maybe a playground, you can certainly, or a sandbox, you can certainly bury toys that actually have animal scent on them, bury them underneath the sand, and then it actually helps them dig there versus other places in your yard. Again, though, if they're really there and they're getting invested in digging, they are probably being left alone too long. Keeping that in mind. 4 months old, my puppies are still on long leads and harnesses or collars when they're outside, even if the yard is fenced in, because I don't want them doing things I don't want them to do, right? So I can kind of control and prevent that stuff. So that's what I suggest for digging. If it persists into something, like it just does not stop and it's actually causing problems, you can go much more proactive routes by like burying mesh in your yard. You can use more highly corrective means, which you actually what you're looking for in that is creating a single learning event, right? Dog goes to dig. We do something. We can use a high level on knee collar, which I don't really like to do for digging. I think there's other ways you can do it. You could put a small amount, like a tablespoon of like cayenne pepper in a spot to dig and mix it around, so then when they go over to sniff and start digging, I don't like that, and they kind of deter from that area if it's one particular place. So there's other things you can do like that. But right now, I would just keep the dog on a long line and keep him on a leash and instill that no and follow it up by something that the dog wants to avoid, which with puppies that young, I just like to make something super annoying. Yep. No using a crate. I would use a crate. That will prevent a lot of things in the long run. I'm not going to go into like a crate lecture, but awesome, Tara. You feed him in the crate. That's great, especially if you have more than one dog in the house. Crates are amazing, like absolutely amazing. I don't know what I would do without crates, to be quite honest. I have 3 dogs in my house. One is crated a lot more when I'm not watching her because she's amazing, but she's destructive. And my other 2, they're almost, my 10-year-old dog is probably graduated from a crate for the most part. He still goes in, but my 2-year-old he's almost 3. Yeah, 2-year-old is still in the crate when we're gone because I think it's a safety issue for me. I don't think that there's any reason not to put them in a crate. to be honest, especially when they're young, especially when you get them young. It's so easy. And they really do like it. You're right. Digging. Sorry, Jen. Jen, is the dog digging in one particular place, or is it just all the time, constantly? That would be one question I would want to know. Oh, eating other dogs' poop. Okay. Tara, so eating other dogs' poop. Well, one thing you can do is you can look at the food and make sure that he is getting enough vitamins and minerals from his food. That's one thing. Is he eating other dogs' poop? Do you have other dogs and he's eating their poop? Or is he eating other dogs' poop other places that you go? That would be my other question. I'm looking at digging in multiple places in the yard. All right, Harriet. So I would be outside watching him. Do you have a fenced in yard? And is he being left outside? Or are you outside watching him and he's just kind of getting some spots and digging? If he's actually digging full-on holes, he's being left alone too long. Also, digging can also be a sign of boredom. These dogs are, dogs in general, but particularly the breeds that you guys have, they're very intellectual and they get bored very fast. They tend to get very destructive, which digging is also considered destructiveness. When we have dogs that are highly intelligent and they're not being challenged enough intellectually. So you can give him other toys to do outside. You can give him puzzles and things to do outside. You can give him a place to dig, like I explained before. I would make sure it is also possible too that you have some sort of a mole infestation. I have had a client that had a dog that dug holes around their yard. Found out, like, we did a lot of different things to stop the digging. Found out that they had a very big mole problem. Like, there's moles in the ground, so the dog was hunting basically. And you guys do have the breeds that you have are hunters all around, so keep that in mind. They are versatile hunters. I mean, they're known for their baying and being bay hunters, but they certainly can bird hunt. They certainly can ground hunt. So keep that in mind as well. Cool. Eating other dogs' poop. Okay, I'll get back to that one. Sorry, Tara. Let's see if she answered. Yeah, again, I want to know if it's your other dogs or if he's eating other poop somewhere else. If it's other dogs, again, I would stop him before he eats the poop. If you've got poop in your yard because you have other dogs and the dog poops, and another dog poops and he goes to grab it, I would stop him there. If it's someplace like the dog park or at parks and things, I would not be taking him to the dog park. But that's just my own thing. If you guys want me to talk about dog parks, I certainly can. I wouldn't be taking puppies this young to the dog park. And not because of shots, but for a whole plethora of other reasons. All right, Heidi. Heidi says my older dog is a good grazer, but Cash is a savage and eats like he's never been fed, like we've never fed him. He gets into her room a lot, and so we've moved it, but keeps her from her food. Okay. Number one, dogs shouldn't graze. Dogs should be twice-a-day eaters. It's actually really important that we feed them twice a day for their digestive system. Their digestive systems are made to binge and purge in both directions sometimes. They're bingers. So dogs in the wild, wolves, canines, foxes, dingoes, painted dogs, they all consume large amounts of food and then don't eat for sometimes weeks. So Our dogs can go once a day without eating, depending on what we're feeding them. Our dogs can go actually 2 or 3 days without eating and then have one big meal, depending on what we're feeding them. Usually with traditional or commercial dog food, we feed them twice a day. So that's number one for your first dog. I honestly, for your first dog's health and benefit, suggest getting the dog on a twice a day schedule, which is very, very easy. You take the food, you put it down. The dog, obviously, who's used to grazing, won't go get it. You pick the food up, put it away, try again at dinner. Put the food down, she doesn't eat, pick it up, try again in the morning, she will eat. You could certainly try at lunch too. That's what I suggest. The puppy is going to need 3 meals a day. Growing like they are, 3 meals a day. And I would feed in the crate. Do you have a crate? Okay, I would feed in the crate. And then I would make sure that, I mean, you're not going to be able to really have food out for one dog that the other dog's not going to eat. I would never, I have 3 dogs in the house. I would never have that expectation for my dogs that one just leaves an open food alone. I know that some people do it and it works, but if for a puppy, I cannot see that happening. Your puppy's going to run in there and he's going to eat her food. So, regardless of what you do, and honestly, she's probably not going to eat if she knows the puppy's going to come bombard her. So I would absolutely try to get her on 2 meals a day, or 3 if you want, doesn't matter. As long as she's a healthy weight, who cares? And feed them when they feed the puppy. Have what we call a food ritual, which is really important for social structure and social bonding, is to have a food ritual, meaning that while you're prepping your food, your dogs are doing one thing, and then you feed each of them in order, and you follow this ritual. After they're done eating, you follow this ritual of activities where I pick up one bowl, I put it away, that dog goes outside, I run around with that dog and play, we come back in, I take the next dog, and we do in the same order. That keeps the dogs, that keeps them mentally healthy, right? For a dog to go and graze and just eat whenever is not very good for them. So mentally or physically, dogs need to do things that are what we call biologically fulfilling, and to eat a big meal and then go through ritualistic activities is biologically fulfilling. So that's really my suggestion for that. As far as eating a lot, maybe up the food a little bit, maybe add water to the food and let it expand. Make sure you're feeding a really high quality, if you're feeding kibble, feed a high quality kibble, something that has a lot of protein in it, that he's able to get the nourishment out of it. You could also look into getting, my dogs get probiotic and digestive enzymes and fish oil. All of that helps really well with digestion, which means that they're getting the nutrients they need, which means they're not feeling like they're starving. They're not just pooping out like huge poops and they're not actually getting any nutrition. So I would also look into that, and that would maybe help the guzzling as well. We are watching her every second outside. Okay, Harriet. So she's starting to dig. Is that Harriet? Yeah. So she's starting to dig, and what's happening, I guess, would be, I'd want to know what's happening after that. Zeke has a spot in the yard, front and back. The back spot is a dirt hole, so we don't mind the location. Just don't want to encourage. Okay. I would put a lot of fun stuff in the spot that you don't care. He'll dig there forever. So keep that in mind. If you don't care now, just make sure that you're okay with like maybe 100-pound dog digging in that spot for years to come. But if you don't care, I would put fun things for him to dig for back there. So I would look into going to Fleet Farm is a great place for dog toys, getting small like stuffed toys, or they have even those ones that are like look like dead animals, like they're they look like they legitly look like dead animals, and put a little scent on them and bury them in there, so then he can go in and dig and get those. The key to keeping him in one spot is novelty. So making it new and different every time. Want him to get really excited to go out and dig in that spot. If he digs in that spot and the other spot's kind of boring, he'll stay in that one spot. And also making other areas very unappealing. So keeping him in the backyard, keeping him only in so that spot's only available. And then you can correct him for doing so. He starts digging in the spot that you don't want or digging other places. You can absolutely say no, and then here and bring him over and say dig here, and that might mean like you get down and start digging with him. Dogs actually really enjoy that, like when you dig a hole with them. And it's showing him, no, I don't want you to do it here, but you can do it over here, if that makes sense. That's what I would suggest. All right. Oh, leash training. Ivy tends to pull and choke herself. Oh no, Ivy. Out of excitement. Okay. This is going to be a lecture. I could literally teach like a 9-week course on leash work alone. Number one with leash work is you need to teach them that pressure on the leash, meaning that if there's tension on the leash and they feel pressure on the leash, that it means that you're talking to them, right? It means that they need to do something. Most dogs, I will say 99% of dogs out there, learn that leash pressure. Leashes, basically, they learn what's called learned helplessness. If you ever heard what learned helplessness is, it's basically, simply put, if there's a stimulus and the dog learns that there's nothing that they can do to control that stimulus, so they just live with it, right? So we end up teaching learned helplessness with leashes. A good example for learned helplessness with humans is thunder, right? We just accept thunder, no matter how unpleasant it is sometimes for us, no matter how it might wake us up in the night and startle us, no matter how much, you'd be sitting out with your friends and drinking and boom, and you're like, oh man, that was thunder. We just accept it. It's learned that we just are helpless against it, right? We need to teach our dogs that tension on the leash means that something is happening. If I take a turn and there's tension, I want my dog to turn with me, right? If I'm slowing down and there's tension on the leash, I want my dog to stop and slow down, look at me and slow down with me, right? So number one is don't walk your dog on a regular 6-foot leash and buckle collar, okay? Get a harness and a long line, or just get a long line and do the flat buckle collar. Just make sure that it's tight enough that it's not going to slip over her head. And what I would do is I do some long line work. If I'm going to walk her like from the car to the vet office, all that stuff, I would have a long line on her. With my puppies that I raise, I don't have a leash on them for like the first 6 months, like a regular leash, right? Because I don't want them ever to feel tension on the leash and then get to go somewhere that they want to go, because that just teaches them that tension on the leash means I get to go there, right? So they also can learn very quickly that I have to put tension on the leash to move forward. And they don't realize that if they just relax the leash and they relax the tension on the leash, that they can move forward comfortably. So we need to actually teach that. Leash work can take a long time to teach, like every day, twice a day. It can still take you months to teach. So I would get a nice, solid, good collar that you want to walk her on. I don't care if you choose a flat buckle collar, a slip lead, a head halter, a prong collar. It doesn't matter. Get a tool that's comfortable for you to use. All of which will have some sort of tension. One thing I would stay away from is harnesses for actual leash walking purposes, because it's really hard to control a dog once they lose their brains, right, on a harness. And it's also harder to get them back. So if she gets excited about something and she's on a harness, it's very hard to get them back to you, right? For them to redirect back to you. And it's also hard to actually communicate with the leash. So leashes, honestly, ideally should be communication and insurance. They should not be a means of confinement or control. So for her, long line, which is for her, I mean, 15-foot, 20-foot line and a harness or a flat buckle collar. So if you're going to walk somewhere, try to keep as loose leash as possible. I take her for a walk. Find a place that's not super busy, and just walk with her. Put her down, walk away from her, and have her follow you. Good girl, yay! And so she gets used to just following with you and being with you, right? And then outside of that, in actual formal training sessions, what I would do is I'd have her on leash. I hold the end of my leash, regular 6-foot leash, flat buckle collar, or whatever collar you would choose, even a head halter, which I would go with a halty versus a gentle leader. I'm not a big fan of gentle leaders. Head halter or Halties is a much better brand. But she goes up, tension on the leash, and as soon as she gives you any sort of recognition that, hey, there's tension on my leash, you mark it with good, or good or yes or whatever you'd want to mark it with. Give her release from the pressure and then call her this way. Good job. You walk up, she goes, pressure on, good job. And you practice that over and over again. You can look on YouTube, look up pressure and release videos on YouTube. There's a ton of training videos. I have a few on mine. There's one that I put up about a year and a half ago that was from a dog that pulled really bad, and she was doing really, really well with just a lot of working on her just being checked in and being focused on me in distracted areas. And puppies are super distractible. So the other thing I would do is every time I'm using a short leash, I would use if you're feeding kibble, I would take that cup of kibble or cup and a half, put it in my tree bag, and then we would practice. They'd get their food every day from doing leash work. So they learn to be really, really focused on me because that's where their food is coming from. And what happens is when you start doing that, and you have, let's say you have people over in your yard, it's summer, you want to have people over and talk, you have your dog there and you call over, boo, boo, good girl, here, good girl, good girl, walk around with her leash on and tell everybody just to ignore her. And what happens eventually is that you just turn into white noise. Everything else turns into white noise but you, when the dog's an adult. And that's a pretty cool place to be, let me tell you. So that's a suggestion with leash work with puppies. Don't put them on short leashes and let them pull you around. And your puppies are huge and they're only going to get bigger and stronger. So if you have any more questions on that, on leash work, it's one of my geeky things that I do a lot of, and I really get into it on a very technical level. Feel free to hit me up privately and we can talk more about that. All right, sorry guys, I'm just looking through the things. Tends to fall and choke herself. Yes, Jen, cut the time and provide some other things. So you guys, one thing I will say, that your puppies are about 12 weeks old, there's certainly they can do a ton of training. 12 weeks old, you can have a dog sit, stay down, at least doing those behaviors without any duration. And you can work it into play. You can work it into games. You know, being outside and being active with you is really, really important. You're imprinting that you are awesome in your puppy. If you just stand there and do nothing while they dig the hole, they're learning, hey, the hole is way more fun than you are. So good thing to keep in mind. Awesome, Bree. Feed Ivy in her place. That's our safe place. It's awesome. What brand of probiotics? I use right now Birdies. If you look up, I can actually, when I'm done here, I will post it in the comments, the link that I use for a lot of my supplements. Right now I use the Immune Defense one, which is actually a probiotic, joint, and multivitamin. And then I use one that's called Zyme, All Zyme, which actually can be used for people with my 2 larger dogs, which I'll just post the link to Birdie's one when I'm done here, and then you guys can see. They carry a bunch of really good products. Harriet says we pull away from digging immediately, but she will just go on to another dig spot. Okay, so after you pull her away, I would try to engage her. I would try to be like, hey man, I'm cool, and play with her and engage her, and maybe bring food out with you, call her, work on some obedience, work on some of that stuff. Because you guys got working dogs, so the digging is now working. That's her job, is digging. So we want her job to be something else, so we have to teach her what else we want her to do. Every day in and day out, for like the next year, because she's just young. Jacqueline's watching. How are you, Jacqueline? You bought a book on Catahoulas. Wonderful. Great job, Jen. Catahoulas are a really awesome breed. I don't think I would own one now, or at least an old world one, but I do like them. I do like them. I would want a little bit more space, but I do think they're pretty amazing. They've loved shoes, huh? Sarah says they've loved shoes since they could walk. Shoes, man. My dog loves shoes also. He likes to carry them around. All right, guys. I don't know why the comments aren't coming up on the computer, but they're coming up on the phone, so that's pretty awesome. All right. So am I right that there's that? Oh, there they are. I've got more. Awesome. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. I am not a technical person. I'm a dog trainer. Cool. I think I got all the questions. If I didn't, go ahead and type it in again and I'll get it now because now I can actually see the comments on here, which is very, very helpful. Versus the phone. I'll actually put the phone down. Oh, they bite your shoes while you're walking. Well, number one, I would, again, I'm going to go back to my leashes, right? Have them drag a leash around. Have them drag a leash around. As soon as they start looking like they're going to go after your shoes, that's when you make a correction. Don't wait until the contact point. Wait until the commitment point. So when there's a behavior, there's a commitment and there's a contact point, right? I am going to commit to a behavior and then I'm going to do that behavior. Ideally, whenever we're using correction or to stop something, with puppies, we try to exhaust other means to not let them allow to create a bad habit. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes the shoes are just so amazing and that's it, which could be some of your herding stuff from the Catahoula. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so you'd want to, if you're going to use any sort of correction, which for a puppy, you could make a loud noise. Hey, as soon as they do it, you can kind of stomp your feet and walk toward them a little bit and get in their space and let them know that that's not appropriate. I don't want that. I like that. I like dogs at that age to know that I don't want them to do something. Not that you could use something like a bonker. I'm not super into bonkers personally, but you could certainly use a bonker, which is a rolled up towel basically, and you kind of throw it at the puppy and it kind of scares them, when that happens. That is something you can do, and every time they go chew it, you just, and they learn that that's not a very good thing to do. I like to pair it with a no, so you say no and then throw something down on the ground next to them that kind of scares them a little bit. You can use a small like a bottle with coins in it. If you get one of those mini Gatorade bottles with like 2 coins in it, you just drop it next to them, right? And they startle a little bit, and you pair it with your no. That can be effective. My first go-to though is getting a leash on the dog and actually again, making it annoying. Nope, pressure on. Nope, pressure on. Nope, pressure on. And the dog's like, oh, this is boring, and then they walk away. But again, you want to get it at the commitment point. You don't want to wait till the dog's foot or mouth is like gnawing on your shoe. You want to actually, like, when they're looking at you and going, oh, look at that shoe, and they're coming towards you, that's when you want to make a correction. You can, no, you can make it a point. If you correct at the commitment point, you don't have to make super high corrections, right? We call it correct the spark, not the explosion, right? So if you are correcting the onset of a bad behavior, you don't have to use big means to correct, right? My Malinois she won't hurt my chickens while I'm out here with her, but I wouldn't leave her out here with her. And she likes to stalk them sometimes. And as soon as I see that look in her eye, like she could be laying here and I see her I'll say no, and she'll, sorry. right? If she's up and going after my chicken, I have to come in with a very no, to kind of snap her out of there because I've allowed her to get to this point in the behavior, right? I've allowed her to actually take action in the behavior, and stopping action is a lot easier or a lot more difficult than stopping intention. So that is something to keep in mind. So if you know the puppy's going to do it, don't, let them know, stop then. Another thing about puppies at that age, and I know this is a tough one for everybody, and nobody ever listens to dog trainers when we say it, but that age, man, they're on lockdown. When I have puppies, and I love raising puppies, it's like one of my favorite things to do. Every time I get a dog and that they get to be like a year and a half, I'm like, I want another puppy. But that first year, they're on lockdown. Like my goal is not to allow or let them develop any bad habits in that first year, because habits that develop in that first year can stick for a long time. So I want them to develop really good habits. So I only allow them, which means I create an environment around the puppy that I only want him to create good habits, right? So for example, and I tell this one a lot, is when Hogarth we brought him home when he was 9 weeks old at 4:00 in the morning. Of course, he's gotta go potty. So I get up and I pick him up out of the crate. I walk outside, he pees, I pick him up, and I bring him back and put him back in the crate immediately. And then I did some doorway exercises with him after he had peed, right? So I open the door, nope. And as soon as I open the door, he didn't come out, I say, okay, and I guide him out, right? Put a leash on him. We walk to the gate, and I shape a sit, right? So I would just like gently put him in a sitter, hold the treat up, and then he'd sit down, and then I'd give him the treat at the first baby gate. And there's a lot of baby gates. There's like 6 baby gates in my house. And then we walk to the next baby gate. I'd put him into a sit, and then we walk outside. Now, today, I open his door to his crate, and he just doesn't even move. He lays there, and I say, okay, let's go, or break. And he goes to the first baby gate, and he just sits down, and he waits for me. And he goes to the next baby gate, and he sits down, and he waits. And he goes to the front door, and he sits down, and he waits. I haven't trained him to do any of that. That's the only thing that he's done since he was 8 weeks old. So that's an example of how we just build habits, and we create an environment that only allows the dog to do what we want them to do in the future. So if you've got one that's going after shoes and he's running around like crazy biting your feet, I would look at, why is the dog running around like crazy? And why is he allowed to just be free and biting your feet, right? Especially if you've got ones that are that young, they'd be in their crates if I wasn't with them, watching them, and in dog mode, meaning that I'm in dog trainer mode. I'm in puppy raising mode. I'm not in mom mode or cleaning the house mode or work mode with other dogs or talking on the phone, office mode or office hours mode, or Facebook Live mode. I would be on puppy mode, right? So keep that in mind. Don't allow your puppies to actually even get to that point in the first place. Once they do, you have a choice. We create a single learning event, which is correct. Make it count. I don't want you, nope. Or you can condition it out of them, right? Just call them away from the shoe, distract them, give them a toy. I think you probably are seeing some of that herding behavior in there too. So maybe the dog's telling you that they need a soccer ball and they need to play those games where they're chasing things and running around things. And I would try to create games that they get to do those things. That's one of those things we call biological fulfillment. So if you've got a whole litter of puppies that are loved to bite shoes and chase shoes when you're walking, I think that they're saying, I need to chase things and bite them, right? So I would provide them with controlled situations where they get to chase and bite things. I would also create training exercises that the reward that they get is getting to chase and bite things, right? I love dogs that want to chase and bite things. That's my favorite dog. That is a dog I can get on a bite sleeve and I can do tons of obedience with, and then give him just a tug or a bite sleeve and be like, sweet, you've done a great job. So keep that in mind too. not allowing the puppies to get to that point in the first place. And changing shoes. Okay. Any more questions? Maybe I'm not reading them all here. Walking. Sorry, guys. I didn't see it wasn't coming up. Now I see it. So I think I've got it now. Amazing advice. Oh, I got disconnected for a second. Yeah, Tara, right now is probably between like now and like a year and a half from now. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of training. It's a lot of just having your mindset being in that like I'm raising a puppy mode, right? Or you're not raising a puppy, you're raising a dog, which is hard. It's like when you have kids, you're not raising a baby. You know, I'm not raising a baby, I'm raising somebody that's going to be a full-grown woman someday. So now is really, really important years, you know. And the same thing goes for dogs. I think that right now the best advice I can possibly give people that have puppies of your guys' age with the breed you guys have is understand that they have a lot of phases to go through. I always hear a lot, well, he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. He's great on the bed and he's great on the couch and he's just great doing this. And my response is, yeah, he's 4 months old. You know, my my kid is great when she's like in the car now, but when she's 8, she's gonna hate it. Right now she's in a comfy like booster seat and she just chills. And you know, it they go through different phases and they're going to change, right? And every behavior now that you see as somewhat of a nuisance only is going to get worse as they get older, to be honest. Unless we create an environment again that we can help them make the best choices and create the best habits. Practice means permanence. So if your dog is practicing behaviors even a little bit, it's going to make it permanent. And a lot of those behaviors actually just keep getting more intense and more intense and more intense as time goes on. So the big thing is controlling the environment. When I get calls, and majority of my clients are clients that are about 12 months old, of young dogs that in their biggest issue is they just had too much freedom too soon. Too much responsibility was put on their shoulders to be a good dog too soon. Because I think that we just, and I do it too, and we just forget that they're so young and crazy and they need so much, and then they just go to sleep and you kind of forget, and you know, I don't know. Oh, the fully cover the eating poop. I would know, I need to know, did I think that was Tara. Let me look in. Vincent. Eating poop. So again, it's going to be the same as the digging, right? So a lot of the stuff that we deal with is the same thing, right? So I would correct it's going to be the same too as the biting the shoes, right? If he's looking at poop and he's going for it, stop him then, correct him then. If you have a dog at your home and he's eating the poop at your home, I would be picking up your poop for like the next year really, really well and really good. Number 3, dogs eat shit. I think that some dogs just really like other dogs' poop and they will just eat it, and there's not a whole lot you can do unless you really, really want to go the hot e-collar route and just make it like a serious no. which if you did, that's fine. I mean, whatever. But I know that I had a battle with my dogs about chicken poop. I have 18 chickens, and they eat chicken shit all day long. And I just stopped caring because I was like, this is just ridiculous. So there is that too. If you're going to the dog park and the dog is like seeking out poop, a lot of times too, obviously you wouldn't know with these dogs, but some dogs will do it more in the winter. But if you're going to the dog park and the dog is like eating poop that you're not aware of, or the dog's like you don't know, I would stop taking him to the dog park. And again, I can go through dog parks if you really want me to. If you guys are really interested in that, I mean, go ahead and say it. But I wouldn't take the dog to the dog park and give him the opportunity to like feast on poop. The other thing too is like, I mean, you guys like just establishing a good no, establishing a leave it. I'm not a big fan of, it's not that I'm not a fan of leave it. I just don't use leave it. I just use no. So if my dog is going up to sniff something that I don't want him to be around, I can say nope, and he backs off, right? And how we do that is we say nope to a puppy, and the puppy looks at us, and I say, good boy, come here, and I start talking to him, and I give him some love, and he's like, oh, yay. And the next time I say no, he looks at me like, and I go, good job, come here, right? So I create an association with no, and then look at me, right? And then I can actually tell him what to do versus no, and like go in there and yell at him, no, 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 and the dog's like, leave me alone, and then as they get older and more mature, you can say no, and then, if the dog doesn't have, you can no, and get up, and then they turn to you, right? Then they go, whoa, okay, gotcha, but starting to instill that really early, that actually no means stop and look at me, come here, and stop doing what you're doing. And that's something too. I mean, that's a big thing with a lot of my clients that, again, I get when they're a year old, the dog has never been in a situation where they can be verbally controlled. They're always physically controlled, right? The dog won't jump on the guest if the guy's holding him back like this. The dog needs to be pulled away from the hole and pulled away from the poop. And you should really be looking for a relationship with your dog. And I say this because you guys have puppies and they're so young, and it's so easy when they're that young to that you can verbally talk to your dog. You can verbally say, hey, knock it off. Hey, come here. They start to, today we had another dog in our field, and Hogarth, of course, my intact 2-year-old boy ran out there, and I, hey, shh, and told him to sit, and he sat out there and just waited while the dog ran around and the owner was like chasing the dog around the field. And having that relationship is really important, and developing that now is really, really essential. And it's very easy. It's very easy. It doesn't take as much work as I think people like to think it does. And that's I don't know. I think that there's a lot more emphasis sometimes being put on obedience, like sit down, stay, where I wouldn't be using that stuff very functionally with a dog that's 4 weeks old. I would be, 4 months old. I would be much more looking into socialization, and establishing rules in the home, right? Establishing be calm at doorways, establishing be calm around food, establishing when I move forward, I want you to back up. Because that's what I do. If I'm in a hallway and I move forward, I want my dog to back up. If I'm at the door and I say, hey, go on, I want my dog to back up, and I want them to know what those things mean. And I would teach them thresholds and things like that before I would even care about like sit down and stay and all that stuff. That's more like trick stuff and fun stuff to kind of occupy their time before I would actually be trying to use that in some functional way. And I do think obedience can cloud what we actually were trying to tell our dogs sometimes. That's a whole nother tangent that I'm sure you guys don't want me to get into. Sarah asks, what is your feeling toward that stuff you can add to the food to make their poop unappealing? You can certainly try. I can't speak for any of it, but you can certainly try. The one thing that I do know about that is it's expensive to actually use over and over again. And I have had clients that have done that and it works until they run out of the bottle. And I think that the dog can smell the poop. The poop is like back to normal poop, and then they go eat it again. So I can attest to it. I'm sure that the poop even smells differently when you feed them. And you have to feed every dog in the house, unless the dog's not eating his own poop, which usually they are. But and it is really expensive, and it's hard to keep. I've heard that it's a nuisance to just keep doing it all the time. But I'm not against it by any means. I don't know that much about it. I've heard adding yogurt and pineapple to dogs' food will actually make them not eat poop. I think adding yogurt and pineapple to their own food and then to other dogs' food will actually stop making them poop. I don't know if that's fact. Only heard. And I'm a big person between opinion and fact, so I've only heard. Eats the older dog's poop in their yard. So I would be out there every time that older dog pooped and cleaned it up. That would be my thing. Like right away, I would clean it up. And make it so you have like a poop-free yard all the time. Again, to establish habits. If I had a 2-year-old dog that was already eating poop and was never going to stop, I would think about adding the stuff to the food, or trying other things, and trying more supplements and things like that. So, all right, I've been going on here for like an hour. If you guys have any other, I can certainly do another one of these. I don't have time to like go through stuff and type stuff. I have a little bit, but I can certainly do another one. If you guys have more questions down the road, just let me know. You can just tag me in a comment, and I'll check back periodically to see if anybody's struggling with something. My business is called Good Dogs Minnesota. You can certainly go to the Facebook page. I probably should have did all this in the beginning, but I didn't. Good Dogs Minnesota, you can go to the Facebook page. You can email me. The website is gooddogsminnesota.com. And there's a lot of information there. Also on my Facebook, I do a lot of videos, or I'm trying to do more videos, but do a lot of videos and informational stuff. And I will be getting back into my Facebook Lives on a regular basis as soon as I have the time, which will probably be when my daughter's in school. But all right. I am going to head out. Check my phone really quick. Make sure I'm not missing anything again. Cool. All right. If you guys have any further questions, also go ahead and comment on here, and I will get back. Sometimes I might even make a video for my Facebook page and put it on there too. And if I do that, I'll share it on the site, or on the litter group. You guys all have a good night. Again, let me know if you have any further questions or need anything else. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.